And now that he goes and sees his son is alive and beautiful and blessed, and of all things miraculous, his wife Hagar and his son believe in the one true Lord, and they have not been misguided. Ibrahim finds the apple of his eye and is returned with the joy and the love of his son. And once again, God tests him. Now is your ultimate test. You claim to want to be the one to establish the true faith of mankind and establish the firm belief of the reality and the truth of the human race and all the blood or children of Adam. And then now comes your test. You want to be the father of the rest of the God-believing? Then sacrifice your son. And Ibrahim just does not get it anymore. I mean, this cannot be happening again. Again? Now, to say when I talk that I might use some explicit terms and let go of my emotions, and I mean this with all due respect as any person who understands Islam and the meaning of a person who understands the truth, and to believe that when we talk about the messengers, all of them from Adam on down, who all received the noble truth, we respect all of them as Muslims. Each and every one of them we believe in as a fundamental of our faith, and you will never find a Muslim talking with any of the prophets in a way that is disrespectful, or suggesting that any of them did ever anything that was immoral. But there is no doubt that one must acknowledge the dramatic events that Allah had destined for them, and what it means to actually understand the destiny of the story of our race and who you are. You wanted to know the truth, so by Allah, I'm going to give it to you. This cannot be happening again. And so there, in an area that we now know as Mina, in the place Ibrahim was walking when Allah commanded him to sacrifice his son, that which he had planned his whole life and the future of our struggle as a race on. And it was that time where it's very clear. Satan, the head of the alien race, the shape-shifting draconian Ifrit, major frackin' alternate dimension smoke fire being that we've been talking about, comes to him and whispers to him. As we know, they have the ability to do mental manipulation, and whispers to him saying, "Are you going to believe your Lord?" Once again, I remind you of the chain and the story. Remember what your father Adam has taught you. They will lie to you. They will lie to you. And the worst of all lies of the alien race, or Satan and his minions, is that they lie about God. They lie about God, and that is pure evil. Don't sacrifice your son, he said. And for a moment, Ibrahim let the manipulation enter his mind. And when he realized it was happening, he said a prayer and picked up a pebble and threw it to try and cast out the demon that he knew was present. Right? He knew that one of the other aliens was there. And so he picked up a stone and threw it at it where he sensed it. And it's very clear that that is the narration. And then he continued on his journey. And once again, the invisible reptilian came to him again and whispered to his mind, manipulating him. And when he heard it, he asked God to protect him from the evil whispering of Satan, our accursed enemy. And again he threw a stone at where he sensed it. All this is there in the history, people. All this is there. And then he walked further again. And a third time again, these other dimensional beings whispered towards him, and he heard it again. And he asked Allah to protect him, the Most High. And he took a stone again and threw it at where he thought it was. At this time he got to his son, and he told his son of what Allah had shown him and revealed in his mind. And when his son heard this, he said, "O Father, if it is from the Lord Most High, then you'll find me accepting and patient." See, one of the true symbols of the people who understand the truth, when they really understand, okay, you've got the truth and you understand that there is a God and that you are getting messengership from God, and they believed. We're talking about the time of the prophets. We're talking about the time of the people who had the purity of that light of the soul that God breathed into Adam. We're talking about that blessing that is upon each and every messenger that Allah has sent. And we know from the narration that there's thousands and thousands of them throughout all the earths, to all of mankind and all of the race. God always sends prophets. And for this are clear the stories and signs for us to understand the truth. And so we find Ishmael saying to his father, "You will find me steadfast," or holding on to whatever is God's command. Straight away believing the truth again. That type of character of faith that is the blessing of those of great status. Already showing the importance of Ishmael as what? Ibrahim's prayer. That his children, man, they were going to be hardcore, never forgetting who they were. They were the children of Ibrahim. They believed in the Lord Most High. They were not going to forget that there is only one God. And so we know the story. Right before Ibrahim is about to sacrifice Ishmael on the altar, Allah, in the power that He is, in controlling all of the universe and anything in here, He changes Ishmael to a lamb, a sacrificial lamb. Right? And this practice is an example of sacrificing for the sake of Allah, for the sake of God. That animals can be sacrificed and eaten, and there's blessing in that. And this is also one of the other things, since we talk about some of these spiritual and Eastern philosophies that always say that you have to be a non-meat eater. Well, we know that is not true. Meat, like anything else, should be taken in moderation, and of course it affects your body, but it is not something that is prohibited. It is not something that is prohibited. And all of the prophets were shown to eat meat, and so it must be said, we have specifically the sacrificing of the lamb, and Ismail, as we know, was obviously saved. And this story is there in Islam, in the Quran, and the statements of the Prophet, and many of the other religions that have still managed to preserve some of these tales in their text. Now, as we know, the Quran is there and preserved, and we'll get to that later on in the story when we talk about the importance of some of the books. But we get to a major fundamental, that Ibrahim is now proved, and his son is established as, yes, this line of blood will forever be upon the path, and there is nobleness and greatness in remembering that line, and that from then on, the actual true faith would never be wiped out off the face of the earth. Ibrahim's oath to God and God's promise to Ibrahim was established. And Ismail was going to be one of the noble believers in the true faith. And Abraham and Ismail built a house to worship the Lord Most High in the city that we call Mecca, that still exists today. But as we said in the family situations, the plot always thickens.